And good morning again, everyone. It is Saturday, November the 8th, 2025, 710 KNUS. We are Denver's talk station. Thank you. 710 KNUS Weather Center weather, windy and chilly, and 55, 26 degrees tonight. 50 Sunday. Monday, it sneaks back up again and goes up into the 70s on Tuesday. Ted Trimble will be on with us next hour from New York. It is open lines. We have one line open. We've been packed since we started at 9 o'clock. And we're talking, it is one thing that dawned on me during the pause as well, that this young man who is now the mayor of New York is the face of the Democratic Party. He is now the face. It is no longer Kamala Harris. It isn't any number of people that used to be the face. He is the face of the Democratic Party. Donald Trump is the face of the Republican Party, but this man is now the face of the Democratic Party. And I also think it's interesting, as we end every hour, we start an hour on the death of Dick Cheney, the birth of this young man as the mayor of New York. So it is open lines. What does it mean? What is it significant of? 303-696-1971. We go to Jack in Wyoming. Jack on the show. Thank you and good morning.
Morning, Lamont.
My boy.
Here's the question. How much transfer of wealth under socialism does it take before it's called communism? And the reason I say that is because we have people running for office and they're not disguising it. They're basically offering themselves as communists.
But the difference is, and I listen to people say stuff that, once again, communism is the seizure of the means of production. The state owns the steel mills, the coal mines, the factories. They own, there are workers, allegedly, workers' council Soviets, big unions that control all of it, and eventually the state withers away. Socialism remains a government. Socialism is a voting government. You can look at the governments in Europe today that are socialist governments. They are what people would call a mixed economy. You still have, the by the way, when I found out, I didn't know this, the most expensive, exclusive watches in the world are Rolex. It's a government-owned factory. Did you know that?
No.
Rolex is owned. The Rolex factory is owned by the government. Anyhow, the point of it is, that's an example, but they're not in and of themselves the same. They have similarities as you could find fascism and capitalism kind of a thing, but it really is lightweight to say that they're in and of themselves the same.
Well, I mean, we all know that socialism is a step before communism. It's just a method of getting there.
No, I know. I reject that. There have been socialist governments in Europe since 1945.
Yeah, in the Netherlands, yeah.
And they haven't turned into commies. And the one communist state comes from a totalitarian regime, the Romanovs. Although it makes a stop with the Mensheviks, it goes to the Bolsheviks in a very short amount of time and stays there until it literally falls apart because it can't hold up. And Afghanistan helped it. But
no, communist takeovers always fail because they don't feed their people and the people starve, and then there's an uprising.
But Mao did. Yeah. Mao fed. Mao understood, and I'm not defending Mao but there's the communist state that stayed.
But when I see all these politicians and where they're getting their camel's nose under the tent is with this rent control, and that's nothing but transferring of wealth. I mean, somebody owns an apartment house, they own it as an income property to generate income, and then the government comes in, gets voted in by a bunch of losers, and they get the rent control. So basically, people don't have to pay what the apartment rents for.
The last person I remember doing that was Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford had rent control in this country, the WIN program. So he's hardly a communist.
Well, I can remember my father and my uncle Joe owned a apartment house on 96th Street, Manhattan, and when they heard they're coming in with rent control, they dumped the damn thing as quick as they could. I mean, they couldn't sell it fast enough.
But Gerald Ford brought in rent control. Harry Truman had a form of it in the end of the Second World War. But what we're watching, and I come back to this 24 mainstream Democrats, the face of them now is this young Ugandan-born Muslim socialist. That's Jackie. It's so it's turning the corner to what?
To communism, man.
No,
that's where it's going.
They're not commies. I mean, they're not. They're socialists. And it's like saying, well, they're capitalists, so they're fascist. No, they're not. They're capitalists. And democratic socialists are, in spite of what talk radio wants you to believe, they're not commies. I mean, there's only been a handful of communist states, and they've rigidly held on to being communist states. But the
You mean countries?
Yeah, well, no, states. The Soviet Union was a series of countries. Actually, 14 of the 24 time zones that were amalgamated into the socialist. And it was done by Lenin, and then it was done by Stalin. But they, like the Ukrainians and the Russians, are totally different groups of people. And they smacked them together, as, by the way, the Romanovs did. So
I find communism to be redistribution of wealth. Now I know today that's called socialism.
No, it isn't. Communism is owning the means of production, that the state controls the means of production, owns the media, everything is one. And
yeah, it's all state owned.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's state religion too.
Oh, absolutely.
I understand that, Pete. But I'm telling you,
Marx,
when you take from the productive people and you take from them and you redistribute it to the unproductive people, I'm sorry. For me, that's communism. That's what it is to me.
But when the means of production, the people who built and who made steel and who made coke and who made iron and who dug coal, that Marx said, look, you guys, Lenin writes extensively about profit and what profit, and he goes, look, he said, it's called Wages. There was a pamphlet that he wrote that he was a great pamphleteer, and he said, look, he said, we're going to make a chair, and he said, so what are the two elements in the chair? Well, the cost of the wood and the cost of the labor. Right. And that's what makes the chair. But the capitalist also makes a profit, and the profit doesn't exist. And so it's very, without understanding, they make sense, and that's the problem with reading Marx and Lenin. Stop it! You're making sense. And remember, Karl Marx is a historian, and a really good one. He puts a locomotive on history. He is the first of the modern historians to say there is an engine that pulls us into tomorrow. And he takes Hegel and he applies Hegel's antithesis and thesis and the clashing. And when he talks about, when we finally get rid of the crown heads and then this happens and that happens, but it's a continuous clash, the rise of the bourgeoisie. And he's right. When you read Karl Marx, his sense of history is he's right. Now, what is to be done is another one of Lenin's pamphlets, when Lenin decides, okay, this is what we have to do. And
where did the bourgeoisie get their capital from? It was inherited mainly.
No, it was the rise of the bourgeoisie, the allowance of a middle class. That's what the bourgeois is a middle class. It's a merchant class. And then remember, some of these guys went off to become unions. They were just known as guilds, and they were the guildsmen, and they were. I mean, all of this stuff starts to happen because people want self-determination, and it's been determined by great historians that I've read that men revolt not on their backs, but men revolt on their knees, and when they get to their knees, they want to stand, and that's when a revolution takes place. Marx knew they knew. Marx didn't think any of this was going to happen in Russia, by the way. He thought it would happen in Germany or England.
The guilds were all skilled tradesmen that wanted to protect their, and they wanted to protect it so it could go father son, and they want that's what the whole guild system was, and they were very skilled people. They weren't common laborers.
No, but they were a union. They were an early union. Was a guild. Right. Was a guild, and I mean all this stuff, and Marx sees it, and he sees it coming, and it's blunted, but. Again, now we have this moment in 2024 in New York City. I'm telling you, Jackie, this has more. And I'm watching us watch Fox News choke on it. I listened to talk radio talk about. You know
what the upshot of that is? The upshot on that is the price of real estate in Florida is going to go sky high.
Nah, you think those guys are going to walk away from those multi-million-dollar deals in New York? Because of this guy?
Yes, I do.
No, I don't. All right, man. I love you. Thank you. We go to Rusty. Hey, Rusty, you're on the show, man. Thanks and good morning. Rusty, you there? My boy. Rusty. 2-3 Rusty. Peter to Rusty. All right, let's go here. We go to James. James, you're on a radio show. Thanks, man. Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. This Mamdani,
get off your speaker. Please get off your speakerphone.
Okay, hold on. The reason I see that he won, is that better?
Sure, it's great. Thank you.
So the reason I see he won is he's very charismatic, photogenically on TV, and
he is.
And he got the young people to believe in him. And the one thing I don't get is how could Donald Trump basically, back Cuomo after what happened during COVID with all that horrifying. That's why would you do that? It's wrong. He was wrong then.
It's last ditch. It was.
Yeah, but it's what is Donald Trump doing? He promised the economy that's what he really needs to work on, and it doesn't. He seems like he's failing in that area right now.
Oh, there's huge problems. Huge problems. I agree.
And the other thing that you were talking about with this air traffic controllers deal, I can't believe that somebody has not brought up the fact that, well, since the airlines needs these people, can't the airlines pay their wages? It's nothing to them.
But I can't.
That would be nothing to them.
Yeah, I can't respond to that, but I know that the airlines are in and of themselves separate. I think that and again, don't get me into this because I don't know, but if they were being paid by the airlines, then people would expect they would do the airlines' bidding, and their job is not to do that.
Yeah, but it'd be just temporary, So
I understand.
There's always a solution. In America, there should always be a solution to the problem, and it just seems like we're fighting each other all the time. Doesn't matter.
I can't argue that. I think.
One other thing I heard on your in between on your commercials that there is 600,000 people on food stamps and SNAP in Colorado.
No, I know.
How can that be? How can that be?
I think there's a line on income, and if you fall below that line, you qualify.
Yeah, but I mean, when I was a young kid, my mom was on food stamps, but we weren't there for long.
Well, stamps, but stamps were different then. Like cheese or eggs or that stuff, it was different. I can relate, but it wasn't. it wasn't where. You know what? I should keep my mouth shut because I don't know the difference. But I know there was a time that we had the cheese and the eggs. I know that.
Right, but 600,000 people, Peter.
Yeah, no,
that is ridiculous.
Again,
that's not being honest.
See, and
there's
who's being dishonest?
Right. Who's co-signing that?
Sure.
You know, I was in that Denver and Decay video with Stephen Tubbs.
Sure.
And I watched our government when we filmed that movie downtown. I watched our government cower. They boarded up the Capitol.
Oh.
They had junkies shooting dope on the steps.
Yep.
And they ran and hid. They did absolutely nothing to stop it. And then they want us to believe in what they say?
You and I.
What a joke.
I once again, I find agreement. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy.
We go to Mike. Hey, Mike, you're on a radio show. Thank you and good morning.
Well, good morning, Peter. I was going to comment about Mamdani and that election. For me, and I'm pretty familiar with the Danish welfare system, this is Bernie. He's been, circling around proposing free everything. And, and it works in Denmark. Free school, rent control, public transportation, on and on. It works because they're a country of 6 million and they're homogenous. There's no diversity at all.
True.
And they can pull that off.
But it works. It works in the Netherlands. It works in Finland. It works. I mean, a lot of.
They're very small, Peter. They're very small and they're very homogenous nations. So, but what I want to say.
The point I'm trying to make is that it does work there, and
it does.
And it stayed in Italy, and it stayed in Sicily, and it. A lot of those places, it was in the aftermath of the fascists and the Nazis, those governments came in. And the same thing was true, by the way, in Japan. There was a big Communist Party bloc in Japan that after the demise of the emperor and the militaristic government, one of the things that Douglas MacArthur had to face was these people were hardcore. I mean, there was an element and they became the diet, and they were there, and MacArthur had to deal with them. So,
yeah, well, I guess I feel it's a movement, undercurrent in the country. And I think this does reveal that we're turning towards that model more and more.
I agree.
Bernie and AOC came to Denver here, was it a year ago?
Yep.
Drew 30,000 people.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
It's out there. And by the way, let him do what he wants to do in New York. If he can pull it off, great. But what's going to happen is he's going to have to borrow money. They're already in debt.
Let me do this. Mike, let me put you on hold because I got a break and I want to give you the time to do a good call.
All right.
He's
Thank
on
you.
hold, 303-696-1971. Now, I'll get this right, 19 after the hour of 11. Ted Trimba at 12. We'll make that right. It's been there it is, jammed up. Lines are jammed again. It's a Saturday, and my contention is I'm listening to people poo-poo this. Fox News, as I mentioned, choked on it. Local talk radio seems to not understand how significant what we are watching happened. And it has huge meaning. We'll take your calls coming up on 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast going to have some sunshine but blustery north winds on this Saturday. Highs in the lower to mid-50s with winds through the afternoon at 20 to 30. Lows tonight mid-20s, clear, winds calm. Sunday cool but sunny. Mid-40s to wrap up the work week with lows upper 20s Sunday night. Work week ahead is going to be under a strong ridge. Warm temps, upper 60s, low 70s through the week with lows upper 30s, low 40s. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
tune. 710 KNUS. I know you're working for the CIA. It's a great line. 710 KNUS, we are Denver's talk station. On a Saturday, 55 will be the high, 60 on Sunday. We're talking about maybe next weekend going back and looking at the ultimate conspiracy as we edge closer to the assassination date of John Kennedy. In the meantime, the outcome of the election, and we asked Mike to stay. He's always a good call. Mike, you're back up. It's yours again. Go ahead.
Thank you again for the extra time. So where I was going with this is that I think it's coming. By that I mean a shift in our kind of fundamental government economic outlook, where we're going to go to more of a social welfare model. And I was saying in Denmark it works, but the average tax rate is 46%.
That's right.
Ours is about 14 or 15 here currently. So Mamdani can do whatever he wants to do in New York, but he's going to have to find the money from someplace. He can't tax the rich people enough to come up with the money that he needs. So he's going to have to raise tax rates for everybody. I think that's the model that will roll out, or is starting to raise its head here. Higher taxes and more social welfare.
You remember the critique, and it was the throwaway line, we pretend to work and they pretend to pay us. And it was a trade. I mean, it really was a trade. And it's one of the reasons the Soviet Union did not explode, it imploded. And so we went through, I mean, the Red Scares in this country. I was thinking about that show prepping last night, that following World War I and McCarthyism of the 50s and this anti-socialist, anti-communist sentiment, and the term socialism was increasingly used as a pejorative by conservatives to dismiss a lot of progressive policies in this country. And you know what was done by the McCarthyist is to be, Joe McCarthy never put he never put anybody in jail. He just ruined people's lives. And out of that, of course, comes Roy Cohn. But I don't know what to do with this. I really don't. I've been reading this most of my adult life, and the electoral victory that happened by the way, I looked last night, Victor Berger was the first socialist elected in this country to Congress in 1910. So we've elected more than 70 mayors, numerous state and local officials. Gene Debs, who I've always looked at as a hero, and Debs is, the significant I think Debs ran 5 times for president, and he went to jail during the war and all those things about what those guys were. But now, do you agree that this young man is now the face of the Democratic Party?
I think so. I'm starting to feel it. They've kept Bernie underground. He's too radical, so they didn't let him win in 2016. Yeah. I think they suppressed him again in 2020. But he's out there. He still has tremendous power, tremendous following. This guy is really the face of the Bernie movement to some extent, in my opinion.
I agree.
And you're right. You're exactly right. This is something that's going to roll out. This is the first peek at other major cities. We'll be seeing this again.
I agree. I agree. I mean, the doofus that is the mayor of this city, who comes up with all these ridiculous plans, he won't put the jacket on. Put it on. You know?
Well, Peter, a lot of this is, you talk about the stupidity of talk radio, but it's education as a whole. People are going to have to live some of this to realize it doesn't work, or it leads to bankruptcy. A centrally planned economy cannot work.
Planned economies don't work.
They just don't. And with 340 million people, that is so huge. You couldn't even come up with an AI program that could manage that. So
what Mike is talking about is, for instance, under the Maoists, they had the Great Leap Forward and 1,000 Blossoms opening, and they were just plans. And Joseph Stalin and Khrushchev would have 7-year plan, 4-year plan. Glorious people build. When they built DIA, I had a running gag: glorious people build glorious airport. Because remember, under the Maoists, they were always glorious this, glorious that. But at the same time, look at China. Look what's happened in the PRC. They are challenging the world as we speak. Now, they've rejected a lot of the stuff that was early on Maoist, but these guys you walk hesitantly against these guys. They are who they are. These aren't the Soviets. These are the Chinese, and the world's changing.
It is changing, and the Chinese have a form of a market economy that's right. The Communist Party controls basically, or has representatives in every large company. So, but it's still kind of a market economy. It's not totally state planned and controlled.
No, it is. I think it is the country that creates the most millionaires every month is the PRC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great call. Thanks, man. As always.
Care.
Thank you.
All right.
We go to Ralph. Hey, Ralph, you're on a radio show. Good afternoon. Thank you. No,
Good.
still good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hello?
You're on the air, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. I usually talk history, but I'm going to switch a little bit and talk philosophy and maybe theology just briefly. What we're looking at is a difference between public spirit, public service, and Ayn Rand. Are we our brother's keeper?
Ooh.
Oh, no. Like I said, I'm way outside of my league here. But I'm thinking what we are seeing essentially is a difference that is best exemplified by Donald J. Trump and John McCain. Trump is all for himself and his family, period. McCain was brought up under a Navy admiral, his dad, and understood that at least in combat, there is no I'm only for me. It's you survive only if you are part of we, and it is everyone supports everyone else. And I think that's what I saw, or maybe I hope I saw, in the elections this week. You're having a rejection of the I'm for me and me alone Donald Trump, MAGAcism. I don't know if it's not going to prevail, but I hope it doesn't.
But in fairness, in New York, there was no MAGA candidate. He comes in at the last minute and puts his arm around Cuomo's a gangster. I mean, if you read their history, Cuomo's father and Fred Trump did business with the same guys, and that's where they met.
Sure.
Yeah, and so.
I mean, are not Donald Trump and Cuomo essentially in their way godfathers?
No.
I mean, they are for themselves and their families.
No, well, which Trump family?
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, Cuomo, and again, you get down to how bad the other people were. Curtis Sweela, I did an interview with Curtis Sweela, and you want to say, Curtis, take the red hat off. And in the end, and I don't know if it would have worked out or not, had Curtis Sweela thrown, I think he would have got 7.9% of the vote or something. If he'd have given that to, or if he'd have dropped out, there's not knowing what percentage would have went what way or the other. But Sweela was, when I interviewed him, he always accused John Gotti Jr. of shooting him in the cab. Remember, he got shot? He was shot in the back of a cab. I mean, did he do it? I don't know, but he was really a pain in the I don't know. I don't know.
And that's my real question here, Peter, is look, we've been treated to almost a year of Donald J. Trump. I'm in it for myself. I got this wonderful airplane that was given to me by Qatar.
Yeah.
I got my what is he? Grandson is now making a mint because I gave him the mint on Bitcoin.
He's supposed to be Barron's supposed to be a really smart kid. From what I've read, he's the one that said, "Dad, you got to go to Joe Rogan. You got to go to the fights. You got to do all this stuff, and you got to appear on Rogan."
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're not smart or brilliant. What I'm saying is, who is it that they are for? And if you say, Ayn Rand, I am for me and not for you, then your choice is, okay, what's the other side? We are for we. I mean, I hate to draw this distinction, and I know I'm running on, but my aunt taught me that there is a difference in Christianity between the Old Testament Christians and the New Testament Christians. The Old Testament Christians are all for being Jewish and Israeli and the children of God, and everybody else get out. The New Testament Christians are a little more civilized than that, or at least they extend themselves to try to help somebody else.
They're not Christians in the Old Testament. They become Christians in the New.
That's correct.
Yeah, there is no Old Testament Christians. They aren't there.
No, but that, okay, maybe I should say the difference between the Bible is the Old Testament and the New Testament. Maybe that makes it better. I'm not, like I say, I'm not really into theology or philosophy, but historically there is a difference between those who are in it for themselves alone, or me and my family alone, otherwise known as autocrats or kings, and those who are in it for more people than that, where they recognize that in order to succeed, we must depend on you and you must depend on me.
You know, I was on a chairlift. This is one of those chairlift stories. I'm on a chairlift with a guy in a sit ski with Gary DeFrange and I. We're on the outside, and this guy, and we're going up and everybody just talks on chairlifts, and they were talking about. I said, I got to go home tomorrow, and I said, what's up? What do you why? And he said, I work for a son of a, and he hit the word. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, I'm self-employed. And I think guys that I have immense respect for, that start out on their own and build a company and do something with it. There's just something about that, and it's allowed to happen in this country. And when you see the people who come here and have done so many remarkable things simply because this country allows that. And
but
I don't know. I mean,
Peter, look, I'm a retired real estate lawyer who basically hung up my shingle at 50 because I made my mint.
Man, all right.
The people you're talking to a number of them were clients of mine. And all I'm saying is not that it's a bad life or that they are bad people. They aren't. They are smart. You wouldn't believe how clever or slightly shady some of the things are. But the question that we are talking about is not a real estate deal. The question we are talking about is government.
But
of the people, for the people, and by the people, not for me. And that's my point.
Well, final question or final statement is, given that idea who we're for, I have my family, and that's most important. And then I have my friends, and I have these different things. But when you have a government, and I can't even imagine what it must be like to sit behind that desk. And
nor I.
Read the lives of these people and how they've changed and how much power. And like I said, I'm reading this, creating the atomic bomb thing, and where those guys, Fermi and they come from Europe and they know what's going on. They know Hitler is at least looking at building a weapon, and the most important person that they all know is Albert Einstein, who, by the way, is a socialist. And they go
Yes.
and they go to find
Big deal.
they go to find Einstein, and because they know that he can reach FDR, and they find him, and they don't know where he lives, but the little girl tells Fermi and the other guy, "Oh, you mean the old man with all the hair and everything, really friendly?" And they go to him and they tell him. He writes the letter to Roosevelt to get it started, but you know what? He totally backs out of it. He doesn't have anything to do with creating the bomb. He won't, because he's a pacifist and because he's a socialist. Ralph, thanks as always. All right, we got a break coming. 710 KNUS on the death of Dick Cheney, the birth of a 34-year-old Ugandan-born Muslim, is now the high, and where capitalism has its roots, the capital of capitalism now has a socialist mayor. Your calls right after this. There is one line open, 710 KNUS. 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station on a Saturday. First time to one line open, 303-696-1971. It's going to be 55. It's chilly outside. It's 50 Sunday and Monday, 69 degrees. 303-696-1971. Ted Trimble coming up. We go to Mark in Aurora. Hey, Mark, thanks for waiting. You're on the show. Good morning.
Well, I'll answer your question. I think we have, let's see, Greg Caesar, Summerlee, Corey Bush, Jamal Bowman, AOC, Rashid Tlaib. These are listed in the Congress, Socialist Bernie Sanders, Danny Davis. So
sure.
I don't think it's new. I think it's on display now in New York. I'm not happy it happened. I'm not even happy that they had such a bad choice, because he butchered COVID. The guy that ran against him, and so that was disappointing. But they say, Pete, 9% of the population is leaving, so we'll see. That's a lot.
Well, again, I can't imagine these very wealthy people with these very expensive places in New York that they're going to walk away from them. I think
they'll sell them.
Well, perhaps, but to whom? In other words, you got to have a market. And what I think will happen is the attempt. It's already begun, according to the Journal, the attempting to usurp. We'll see what happens. I mean, everything's in play right now. So,
yeah, but that's just a guess. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the system's going to fail. The grocery stores, I mean, come on. If you put something out for free, people will pick up and eat a bad product if you put it out for free. So, I mean, it just doesn't work. It never has. It never will.
But here, the problem is, and it's an attempt to answer a significant problem, that you can look at this yourself. When you go to the grocery store, how much do you think the cost of living has gone up in Colorado in the last 4 to 6 years? I mean, it's way up. Price of gasoline has not come down.
Yeah.
I mean, so
the 3 for Me deal has gone up 20%, Pete. $12.99 now.
Well, yeah. What my point is that, so you're a family struggling, and you have to feed these kids. You're going to vote for this. Now,
look, I warned everybody, Pete, that when he didn't get control of the Fed, he was going to be in trouble, because what Trump does only works on cheap money. He got the discount rate down to 0. People had 2.5% mortgages. But the economy was screaming.
But
now it's 7%.
But remember, in a greater sense, capitalism is elastic. It expands only to contract. As brilliant economists, infinitely brighter than I am, would say, you can't know good times without knowing bad. It's this relative sense of being. And so it is elastic, it expands and contracts. But you can't make campaign promises like, and I watched the president yesterday saying, everybody's got this all wrong. We have controlled this. We have controlled that. Well, not according to. Thank you, because I buy gas. I go to the grocery store. I don't see it. Do you?
Pete, they lost 2 Senate seats in the state legislature in Mississippi.
Yes. Hey,
we get 75% of the vote in Mississippi.
Yes. And
so that's forget New York. New York does stupid stuff to itself all the time. De Blasio was horrible. Maybe the worst mayor ever.
He was ranked in the top 5, and
he was a doofus's kind.
But when you see Danielle Zarinsky lose her position in Aurora, and she was the darling of talk radio. And
okay, Pete, let me shift into your favorite subject. One of them, JFK. It was below quick teaser. I found this out. There's so many journalists, Pete, that have assembled book clips and all these evidences in videos now. So it's amazing what's out there. But there was an attempt, or there was going to be an attempt, in Chicago. Are you familiar with that one? They were going to kill the JFK in Chicago.
No, it was in Florida.
November 2nd.
It was in Florida.
And no, Florida was in the summer.
Yeah.
But they were going to actually do it 3 weeks before in Chicago, and they were tipped by an FBI agent whose name on the FBI document was Lee. And all these researchers, and there's about 8 of them, say that was Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, in Florida,
he was an FBI agent. That's why I said when they opened up those files that Trump didn't release the first time, even though he said he would, it's because it'll show that he was working for the government.
Well,
it also tells you, if that's true, Pete, if that was truly him that tipped them about the plot. And the theory is, to these guys, he was a plant as a subversive, not a subversive. And so he infiltrated those people. It also means that Hoover, who thwarted that attempt in Chicago, and you can look it up, there's all kinds of people that have it up. You can see their story on it. But that was Hoover that shut it down. The CIA, Alan Dulles, the CIA is, and his longtime girlfriend, was also in the CIA. And they're the ones that pulled the Paynes in. They were related to each other.
If you hold that till next week, we're going to do the show.
No, I know. I know. I just wanted to tease it a little bit because it's bigger than people think how interconnected the government hit was.
Take care. Thank you. Good call.
Thank
you. All right, we go to Jim. Jim, you're on the radio show. Thank you, and good morning.
Good morning, Peter. It's kind of a shock, the whole election. Mamdani is the face of the Democratic Party.
Yes.
I think Nancy Pelosi recognized that. She's retiring.
Yes.
All the leadership. I think Chuck Schumer's on the way out, obviously.
I do too.
So the old guard, what's interesting about it is there was a ton of money thrown against him of millionaires and billionaires. Bloomberg put money against him.
Yes, he did.
Ackerman put money in a lot of areas. The guy that established one of he has said some anti-Semitic things, and that he got elected there, and he actually got a significant part of the younger Jewish vote. So identity politics, in that city, don't hold true. But, I don't know. My wife had city-run a grocery store. She grew up in Leningrad, and she said they were wonderful. You could only go there. You'd wait in line all day to just get a loaf of bread.
What was that?
That's what they're going to get if he takes over.
What's that line over there? That's for people that don't have to wait in line. They wait in that line. That was another old Soviet joke. What's that line over there? Well, that line over there is for the people that don't have to wait in line. It is what is to come. And I don't have any predictions. I just think that people miss the magnitude of what that was and what happened. And he is now the face of the Democratic Party. I don't know who it was the week before, but was it Kamala Harris? Was she the face of the party?
So, the thing about it is they were playing the Democratic primary of all these people, the slew of people. There were like 5 or 6 candidates. And the moderator asked them, what are you going to do when you get elected? And I think 4 out of the 5 said, I'm going to go to Israel.
Yep.
And he was the only one that said I'm
no.
going to stay here in New York.
That's right.
I'm going to try to work it. I think at that moment, he won the election.
God, this is real. I wish we'd have had more time. Jim, I'm on the wall. Thank you for a very, very good call. Thank you so much. Everybody, now we come back on the other side with Ted Trimba. Good morning, everyone. 710 KNUS. Now we come back with good afternoon. But I do see things in scopes and in swings, and that was remarkable on Tuesday night. Ted Trimba joins us, 710 KNUS, 55 and chilly. Stay right here.